What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tsunami Speaks with your girl, Tsunami Jones. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Retweet when I tweet out the show, so we can continue to grow this channel and reach our new goal of 500 subscribers. We are slowly making progress, but um, slow progress is better than no progress. So guys, thank you so much for your patience and waiting for Knicks content from me. We got a lot to get through, and I want to start watching these 1 o'clock games because, as you guys know, I'm a Jets fan too, hence the stuff in the background. That one. So let's get into it for this week. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for waiting on this content. I have had a crazy week at work. Just got told I'm getting a new position potentially. So, been doing some training and got my schedule completely flipped and turned upside down. So, that is why there's been a hold. Plus, I've been sick. So, bear with me. As always, I will get more on a better schedule next week, and then it'll be even better the following week once everything becomes more normal and I can kind of even my stuff out. That said, the Knicks have been something else. I could not stay quiet for any longer, even though my gut was just to do it after all the football today. I was burning on that game last night. Hawks game, Philly game. There's a lot to talk about. So what I'm going to start here is I'm actually going to do this in reverse order than what I would have done. I'm just going to talk about the games first and the games that are coming up as well. Hopefully you guys can see this pretty well. All right, so last Wednesday when I was supposed to do the show, this was initially going to be what I had planned to discuss these games. So on Wednesday we played Atlanta. That was a tough game to watch. You can say that about a lot of these games, even with the W we got against Philly, because as a whole, you keep seeing this perimeter defense being a huge issue. We do know Tibbs's defensive design is for us to crowd the paint. And so nothing in the middle. And if 3-pointers happen, they happen. And I think his whole scheme was that 3-point shots are difficult to make, even if they're open. So ideally, we let those go. That's Tibbs's thing. I don't like it. And to me, it's more egregious than it's been in years prior. And I can say that easily. You think about last season, towards the end of last season, our defense tightened up. Yes, we still gave up threes. Threes are going to be the easiest shot, but it was at the point where there was at least a hand up, on maybe not 100% of the shots, but at least 60% of the shots. This year, it looks like it's 30% of the shots. Some would say, and y'all might call me a Cam lover or whatever you want to call me. It is what it is. My guy Cam is the only one that is getting a hand up the majority of the time on closing out on these 3-pointers. And it's frustrating. RJ Barrett's doing it. I will call my boy out. Still my guy, but he's doing it. Randall's doing it. And Randall was defending better in the beginning of the season. His defense has come down lately. There's a lot. So I'll go game by game, though. The Atlanta game was, if I recall correctly, it was relatively close in the first half. I think we acquired a lead in that game. All these games are blending together. No, I remember now. My bad. So we had a huge lead in that game, and going into the second quarter, the bench was playing really well. We took the bench out. I think it was like 22 points at one point. And the lead just steady started going down. So I think it went down to like 8 to 10 points, something along those lines, right before the second half ended, or the first half ended. Coming into the third quarter, DeJounte Murray went off. DeJounte Murray is a very good defender, but some of those turnovers that he was able to force, those steals he was able to force, were just bad turnovers. You know what I mean? Not these, these basketball players are just not taking care of the basketball. Just stupid turnovers. And it was from everybody. RJ had some turnovers in that game. Brunson had some turnovers in that game. Randall had some turnovers. It was disappointing. And then to lose the game in the manner of which that we did. Trae Young was out for a while. I thought the Knicks were going to be able to capitalize since he wasn't out there, being one of their better three-point shooters. They didn't have Bogdanovich out there, and it didn't matter. We let DeAndre Hunter look good in that game. Hunter is a solid player, but he's not nearly as good as he looked in that game. So that was just disappointing and just frustrating as a fan to watch. And it all really stemmed from that defense. But I think the other thing, the other aspect to really mention is it looked like in that game, players didn't care. There was no fight. I know I said this on Twitter, and I'm a very optimistic Knicks fan. I want to watch sports to be excited, to enjoy I was gonna say enjoy the football. I'm ready for Sunday, obviously, right? To enjoy the game, to get hyped with the players. I'm into that. I don't want to watch these games thinking, oh, we're gonna lose, not fun, blah 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 blah. And the Knicks players looked like they had no fight when that lead started going down, and then when it reversed course and they had a nice little lead going, there was no one on the team that was willing to say, I got this. I'm going to stop the bleeding. And that was probably the most frustrating thing. RJ Barrett didn't take the game over, which is what I was hoping for. Or Brunson. I thought Brunson was going to do it because he's the best shooter we have on the team, best scorer we have on the team, best footwork, all those things. And yet, even he kind of was like, at least it felt like that energy wise, right? So that game, I was ready to, bury the ball, so to speak, football term, wash my hands of it. So let's move on. We played Philly. There was no Embiid. There was no James Harden. That game was way too close for comfort. Well, way too close. I'm glad the Knicks were able to turn it around in the second half, but that was scary. I do see that RJ's kind of turning it around. I want to just admit that, and I'll go more in depth into the stats later. But he's starting to shoot the ball better, starting to assert himself a little bit more. We need to see more from him. But Randall's kind of going in reverse order as RJ's ascending a bit. Randall's descending. That's something to watch for sure. Anyway, a good win, a needed win for the team. I was happy that we got what we were looking for there, even if the guys that we wanted necessarily to go off didn't go off. It's all about the team there. So we needed that win. That brought us, I believe, 4-4. And then that goes into last night's game. We played Boston at home. That game. All right. I thought going into it, you can see my predictions there listed on the screen. I predicted that we would lose that game just because that's the championship runner-up. Even without Robert Williams being there, without Horford, I thought, well, once Horford and Robert Williams, we already knew Robert was going to be out for a while anyway. Once Horford went out, I was like, maybe there is a chance here. We might be able to, squeeze one out, considering that meant they had no center, really, other than Noah Vonleh. So I felt pretty good about it, but my prediction was already set before then. That said, Boston looked like they played with us, like they played with their food, so to speak. To me, that's what it looked like. RJ Barrett he was much better scoring wise in that game. Again, his efficiency has been coming up, but he had a crap ton of turnovers, and it was disappointing. And I think it was 5 in the first half. That can't happen. So that made the game look crazy out of hand. But now the Knicks did make a comeback in the second half, and it looked like okay, the Knicks are doing it. Like everyone was. Brunson looked fantastic in the game. RJ was scoring. Randall was scoring. Obi at first wasn't necessarily scoring, but in the early fourth quarter when he was out there, he made a play. He had a block. He looked great in that game. It was fun to watch him. It's always fun to watch Obi anyway, but the fact that he's turning up that defensive intensity is what's really getting me. It's like, okay, Obi's not a defensive liability anymore, or he's appearing not to look that way. And that's what we need to see. Tibbs played, I meant to say this earlier, in the Philly game, Tibbs went small. We had Obi and Randall both play at the same time. We didn't think that was a thing that Tibbs would ever entertain. Might have been partly out of necessity since Mitchell Robinson did get injured. And Tibbs clearly doesn't trust Jericho Sims yet. Um, there may be some reasons why. Defensively, Jericho doesn't look awesome yet, but also he hasn't had a lot of playing time to really kind of firm those things up. But I think that Tibbs is, like I said, Tibbs's trust is not in him yet. So he was like, it's either Hartenstein plays all the minutes, or we're gonna go small here because I rather have Randall at center or Obi at center than Jericho Sims at center. Regardless, Obi looked really good in that Philadelphia game. I liked what I was seeing from him there. Fast forward to the Boston game where we were just at. Even though his shot wasn't falling necessarily, he still looked good. His energy was good out there. And then he had just made a very big three. We were starting to really make this comeback here, and Obi got taken out. And I am not the biggest Obi stan, as it were. I am a fan of all our players, of course. But I wasn't necessarily the type where it's like, okay, Obi needs to start. I wasn't saying that. I would like him to get some more minutes. That was really where I was at with it. And this season, Obi has definitely deserved those minutes. So for Tibbs to yank him at the time, especially when he was making plays out there, he was hustling on defense. Like I was mentioning before, a lot of our players weren't hustling. He was, even if he wasn't necessarily rebounding super well. And then he comes out, Randall goes in. You feel the momentum shift. But I was hoping not so. I'm like, maybe it's not necessarily going to be the case here. Maybe Randall's going to bring it. Randall, I think, did have a couple of baskets in the fourth quarter. His defense was back to meh. At one point, he just completely let dude go, and I was furious. I couldn't, as a person who's been trying to somewhat support Randall, not somewhat, call a spade. When I'm seeing good stuff, I'm going to say I see the good stuff. If I'm seeing bad stuff, I'm going to acknowledge I'm seeing bad stuff. And Randall started really frustrating me at that point. And the Knicks were able to score in the fourth quarter, but we couldn't stop them on the other end. Or if we did stop them, then we couldn't score conversely. RJ missed a huge three that could have really made the game closer, could have turned the tide there. And then once Tatum came back in, he was rested for quite some time before he came back in because a dude named Hauser was playing so well. They were like, oh, we'll use Tatum when we need to use Tatum. Because Hauser, I posted this on Twitter. I said that does Hauser equal Terrence Ross? Since Terrence Ross is a New York Knicks killer. He always hurts us, especially in the Garden. Hauser looked worse. I saw some cat said maybe he looks like not looks like, but maybe he's playing like Novak. He did. That jumper was so damn smooth and wet. You already knew what was gonna happen when it was going up. Started freaking out when I saw him get the pass. When Hauser gets the pass, I'm like, oh God, okay. You know what I mean? So that said, they didn't even really need Tatum. They brought Tatum in at the end, and he put the clamps on us. His defense, his energy, and of course his shooting. We left Tatum open from three. It's like that's his shot. That's his shot. Like Boston is a 3-point shooting team. This is not the defense you use against that team. But it's neither here nor there. I'm not calling for Tibbs's head yet, but I am getting there. I need to see more adjustments. I'm glad that we're seeing, like I mentioned, the Obi Randall lineup. That's great. It shows that he's willing to adjust. I'm sorry, I buried the lead. Cam Reddish started today or yesterday against the Celtics, and I was shocked to see it. I was proud to see it. Again, was it necessity since Quentin Grimes wasn't going to play? They didn't want him to play with the foot soreness on a back-to-back, which makes sense. More to see there. I want to see if he plays tomorrow on Monday when we play the Minnesota Timberwolves. If he plays Monday, then I'm going to say he's fine. And we just don't want him doing any back-to-backs. If he doesn't play tomorrow, that tells me he's got plantar fasciitis and I'm staying staying with my prediction of that's what he's got going on at this point. Because again, that kind of foot issue, I have it. I know what it feels like. I couldn't play basketball in any plantar fasciitis. I can't run right now. He can't. Like, so you can run and do it once, but after that, it's a mess, you know? Anyway, so we'll see how if and when he plays on Monday. Great. Let's see. But anyway, so back to the aspect of necessity. So I think that's why Cam started. Tibbs knew that Fournier just can't. Fournier's not bringing it. I said this before. If Fournier's not hitting shots, he's not necessarily killing it for. He's not really helping us because his defense isn't there. I'm not saying he's a horrible defender. He seemingly is a willing defender. He tries, or he's trying this year, but he just doesn't have the foot speed to guard starting two guards, especially against a team like Boston. That's a bad matchup, even though he normally flames them. I was kind of surprised that he didn't just use Fournier anyway, just because he's a flamethrower against that team. And he did hit a couple shots in that game that I was like, okay, but he took him out. In regards to how Cam played last night, I was very pleased with him. I know the numbers don't bear it out. I believe it was like 1 for 6 or something like that. There were a couple of chippies he missed in the fourth quarter that would have made his stat line look a lot better than what it was. I think he had finished with 4 points, but the defense was there. Like I mentioned earlier, the effort was there. You can tell he knows that he's playing for his NBA life, so to speak. And I love what I'm seeing from him. I think that he will play better when he gets more minutes, more starts, so to speak, with the starting lineup. They don't have a bunch of familiarity with him. You know, it took the bench a while to get used to playing with Cam. So to flip him now, I understand some growing pains on that aspect, but that's what I saw in those games. The Boston game hurt me just because I felt like we had that. Especially the defensive lapses. I think New York as a city and New Yorkers as a whole, we like defense. It's still going to be our favorite thing. It's our calling card. That's the 90s Knicks plays. And yes, guys, I did see some of those games back then, even though I'm a little on the younger side. So that's what we used to hang our hats on. So for the Knicks to be an offensive team, but not a great offensive team, and then a bad defensive team, what is that? What is that? That's not right. That's disgusting, you know? So yeah. I'll go more in depth by player in a moment here. I'm just going to finish out what my predictions of the next couple of games are, and then I'll analyze the players a little bit further. Tomorrow's game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think, is going to be very interesting. Mostly because they have a dynamic guard that I don't think RJ can defend. RJ fan, I just don't think he's got it for Anthony Edwards, because Anthony Edwards is so quick twitch. And has a hell of a athleticism that RJ just seems to not really be able to defend very well. At least in a situation like that, you're going to want some length. So I'm praying that Cam starts just to take some of the burden off RJ. I think also having Cam out there allows RJ to, even if I don't mind RJ getting switched on him or anything like that, though they can do that. I just don't want him to be on him the entire game. That allows RJ to relax and focus a little bit more on the offensive end. His efficiency is starting to come up. I'll show you in the next slide here. And those two can play together. So I like that aspect there. If Cam starts, I feel good about that game. I think it sounds like Gobert is not going to play. He has COVID. So there's that. Who else? I think that's the only player that's actually questionable at this point. Everybody else should play. Again, what I already said about Grimes, we'll see what happens there. So with that said, with that matchup, Minnesota's been playing fairly well, but they're 5-5 right now. They have played some more difficult teams than we have. So what do I expect? I think we can win that game. I also think that the Knicks, at least they should have a chip on their shoulder for how the Minnesota game went last year, specifically RJ. Because RJ had an opportunity to hit a clutch basket, and Anthony Edwards clowned him afterwards. He fell right into his character that he played in the Netflix movie. the movie's name's not coming to me, but if you guys have seen that movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. He was kind of a troll, so to speak, on the court. I don't think Anthony Edwards had to act that because that's how he is. Anyway, so if I'm RJ, I'm ready to take this kid out. I would want to go off. And at this point, if there's no Gobert and Cat Anthony Edwards is the center, RJ better get in the paint and he better live in the paint. Stay in there. And that doesn't just go for RJ. That also goes for the rest of this team. We have a lot of people who like to go in the paint. Like we have a lot of players that thrive in there, but don't necessarily finish really well or can be stopped when there are centers like a Gobert type. Gobert's eaten us up before. You saw what he did against us last year when we played Utah. So fingers crossed there. I'm seeing a W if Gobert doesn't play. If Gobert does play, not positive. I don't feel really optimistic about it. I still think the Knicks can win any game because the Knicks can get hot from three. They can with the new flamethrower on the team, Obi Toppin, right? As far as that Brooklyn game goes, not feeling super optimistic about it because we just can't beat Brooklyn, or we haven't been able to. Can the tide turn since Brooklyn has had so many issues? Kyrie's not playing that game because that's still within that 5-game window, and I know it was 5 games minimum that he has to miss. So that said, at this point, I would say I'm just leaning towards the Knicks. They could easily win the game. Well, not easily. I could see us winning, but I just don't think we will win that one. I think KD gets hyped to play against us. They'll be in Brooklyn. That doesn't matter at all. I'm sure Knicks fans will show up to that game in droves because screw them. Sorry, Brooklyn fans, if you guys are Jets fans that are watching for me. Sorry. I can't help it. So we'll see. So I have my my score listed there. I think we lose 115 to 102. Minnesota game, we win 110 to 106. And at that point, that would leave us with us going 3-2 for the, well, no, not 3-2. It will be 2-3 because we lost against Atlanta, even though I thought we would win that game. So that's what I got as far as predictions and all that good stuff. I'm going to quickly here, because the 1 o'clock window is about to start, do a little analysis on our team and just what we're seeing. RJ Barrett is starting to score now. He's starting to hit those shots and finish a little bit better, even though those turnovers have been more of a concern. Specifically, the last 2 games that he's played, he's had some just stupid turnovers. I think the no-look pass one pissed me off the most in the last game. Again, RJ fan. Y'all know it. I got my guy's freaking poster here. Like, that's my guy. Favorite player on the team. But I know RJ has better than this. And I expect him to do better. I want him to continue to get the ball and be on ball and make plays. He is a good playmaker when he is focused on doing that. When he gets in the paint, people crash into the paint to defend him. So RJ also has got to pass more. I will admit that. I've seen that too, Knicks fans. I know RJ haters. I see y'all on Twitter. I feel y'all to a certain extent. He needs to have his head up when he's dribbling into the paint. Be ready. Mitch normally is going to be there maybe not now, but even with Hartenstein starting, that's actually a pro here in the aspect of Hartenstein might be out open for 3. I don't want him shooting a ton of those, but pass it to him. He can make the short, the corner 3. He could definitely make that. Pass the ball there. Cam was open on some of those drives that he had, and he forced the ball inside. Grant Williams picked his pocket a few times. Even though RJ scored better, I was frustrated by that myself. I won't call it selfishness. It's just, I think he's just trying to prove himself. But that could be coached out. What do we have assistant coaches for? Johnny Bryant, tell your boy. Pass the ball when you get in the paint. Not all the time, but if there's 3 of them in there, definitely do that. So I agree with some Knicks fans I've seen on Twitter in regards to that. He's got to be better. But I'm very optimistic and happy that we're starting to see him shoot more efficiently. I hope that continues. I hope his confidence goes back up to where, needs to be, because we need him to be a deadly shooter with this team being a not awesome 3-point shooting team. I want him to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and be that leader he says he wants to be. We see it in spots and spurts. I want him to try and take over the game when games are going out of, out of the world. Oh, there are comments in here, and I didn't see not a one. Never mind. There's a reason. Let's get rid of that. My bad. So I will continue while I get rid of those. My bad. Moving on. Let's do so that was RJ Barrett and just kind of how I'm feeling about him. His field goal percentage is going up game by game. The three-pointer is still pretty bad. I mean, we're looking at 41.8%, so 42% is good. 23.9 from three-point range has got to get better. Got to. And I know it will. He went from 17 points per game to 18.4. So I'm seeing improvement there. I'm happy about that. I'm going to go down the list here, and then I'm going to end the show in like a few minutes because it's time for football. It's time. All right. That said, Julius Randle, I might just stick on this for a little bit. Julius, man. Julius's mentality is better. He's been more optimistic. He's been great. Mentally, maybe great is a bit high. He's been much better on that end. However, he's starting to fall back into old habits on the court. I've been disappointed in the aspect of he still can't shoot threes. So that kind of sucks, right? B, he's starting to turn over the ball a bit more again. I don't know if that's because he started getting the ball more often. What's up, Queen? Salute. I had to pop in here and do a quick Knicks show before football starts, but I will be ending this soon because I started way too late. But this is for the love of the game that I wanted to do this. But that said, man, with Randall's made it hard to defend him. I can't defend him right now because he can play better than what he's doing. I think his decision making when he has the ball in his hands has been kind of going back down. Yes, ma'am. I did get the bug like you said I would by going live. It is faster. It's better for my peace of mind. So no editing required. But yeah, man, with Julius Randle, it's the decision making, it's the apathy sometimes when he on the defensive end. We're starting to see that rear its ugly head again. We weren't seeing that earlier on in the season, like the first 3 games of the season when Randle was balling. I didn't see that, so I was excited. I think so, Queen. I think you're right. Maybe I might do one. No, you're right. It's probably gonna be live going forward. But yeah, so Randall's been tough to defend, and at this point, Obi is starting to really assert himself, and so I think it's making what Randall is doing look more egregious than it would have been otherwise. Obi is moving the ball. Obi is defending. I would say he's the way Randall's been defending. So this is probably a shot at Randall here. Obi is on par as a defender, if not better, depending on the matchup. That's concerning because Randall should be better there, just by the overall athleticism and foot speed and all that. Because Obi doesn't have the same amount of foot speed or the same athleticism. Well, the athleticism is one thing that's more jumping aspect, but what I mean is like his lateral quickness. Randall has better lateral quickness and can recover better. But if you're not trying, you make an Obi look good. Come on, bro. What is that about? And then Obi is shooting the lights out right now. The absolute lights out. I mean, the guy is the best 3-point shooter on the team now. I don't know if I feel good about that. Like I want to be proud, that Obi's doing that, but it's still alarming. And he's the best 3-point shooter on the team. That's got to get better. Jalen Brunson, I want to hit home real quick because I know games are on now. So now I'm getting a little distracted. I won't lie to you. But that said, um, Brunson started off this season really asserting himself, whether it was scoring, whether it was passing, felt really comfortable with the ball in his hands. I still feel comfortable with the ball in his hands today. Nothing has changed there. But I haven't seen him take over as much. The last few games that I watched, I just didn't see it to the point where I was wondering if he was being less aggressive because he wanted to let Randall assert himself. Was it a discussion? I don't know. But I want the same Brunson I saw in the first few games. Where is he? He did play really well against Boston last night. And so I will give him that. Like he scored all over the place. You saw the footwork do work. It's so effortless when you see Brunson score. So I want to see more of it, whether it's scoring or just that playmaking. Like I know he's got it and he's got it in spades. Um, his shooting has come down just a little bit from what it was week one, but it was really high week one. So I didn't expect it to stay there. But he's at 48%, 31% from three. So obviously the 3 pointers have come down a bit. Mitchell Robinson's hurt. So these numbers aren't going to change very much now. And it's unfortunate because I think he was starting to turn the corner a little bit before he got hurt. Um, but I do think it's an interesting way in the way that it affects the team because with Mitchell Robinson being hurt, we're going to see more Hartenstein. We're going to see more small ball, with Randall and Tibbs. I mean, Randall and Tibbs. Randall and Obi. So I'm intrigued to see what more is going to happen on that. Not wishing injury. It's just, okay, if he's out for a week, I'm not pressed about it because we do have Hartenstein. And Hartenstein has been really fun to watch. Whether he's off the bench starting, I don't care. I love his passing. And I like his fire. Did y'all see when he dunked? When he put the ball back and he screamed? I didn't think he did all that. I like that stuff. I get excited when I see stuff like that. I scream in here too. Judge me if you want to. So I think he does help galvanize the troops. I like that he's a good communicator on defense and he brings that intensity. I just hope the rest of the players take to him more. I like that Hartenstein also finds Obi. So the more that those two can share the court, the better. Quickly's been up and down. I've noticed as well that he's doing a lot more, not doing a lot more, but he's been less aggressive, let's say, in the scoring and has been passing more, which I like, but I'm curious about a few things here. Wondering if Quickly is I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I've noticed he's doing more ice and things like that on his legs. Like he was strapped up the last two games that I've seen. And I think probably in the Hawks game, I just don't remember off the top of my head. But those two, the pictures kind of, burned in my eyes, so to speak, where he was strapped ice everywhere. So it's like, is he possibly nursing a nagging injury? Don't mind me. I have red zone on. But yeah, is he nursing one? I'm probably wrong. I mean, I'm sure that would be on the stat sheet or something to that effect, but it's just something I'm pondering and thinking about. Um, yeah, I shouldn't have put football on. I'm sorry. All right. So anyway, I'm watching quickly. I want to see what happens. Now that Cam started, but we don't know if he's starting. It'll be interesting to see if Quickly plays a little differently with him out there. Again, he's not looking bad and he's not looking great. Oh, I like both these comments. Let me just show both. So Queen mentioned she likes what I heart and what he brings. I wholeheartedly agree. Chef's kiss on what we've been seeing. His defense is meh, but the effort is there because he's just a little bit slow of foot. So he doesn't have like that same recovery speed that like Robinson does, but he brings so much more overall to the table that you can't help but like what iHeart does. And I agree with this comment as well, Queen. Brunson did look more like himself against Boston in that third quarter too, because he helped bring us back or bring us in or keep us in. So fun to watch him. And I'm glad that Brunson's kind of turning the corner too. So it's really early in the season, so I'm trying not to do too much overreacting. But it's hard when you watching week to week, or game to game, and we're not necessarily winning these games. So of course, we had to put the magnifying glasses on and all that stuff, watching and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Why aren't the Knicks winning, right? I'll wrap up with Cam Reddish. I'll bring up Derrick Rose for a little bit. Rose hasn't looked the same. I'm glad that we're pacing him and we're not trying to burn him out early, and I'm happy about that aspect. Derrick will turn back the clock and have a few awesome drives, and then it'll be quiet right back down. It's interesting. I'm glad that we're saving him, but I'm wondering what it means. Is he situational, to use your word, Queen? I think he might be. I feel like he's only out there, to make sure quick plays like a point guard, because we don't necessarily trust that we're always going to get that awesome point guard play from Quick, because Quick is minute to minute when it comes to that. He has his moments. Let's go. Okay. That said, so that's what I wanted to say about Derrick Rose, and then I'll just finish real quick with Cam Reddish. I talked about him earlier, so I don't like to say a lot here. A, I'm glad he got the opportunity to start. B, I like what he's doing defensively. And C, there is a lot of little things that people can miss if you just look at the box score. So you have to watch the games to see what Cam is doing. I've been very happy with the way he's been playing. I like his attitude on the floor. I mean, he picked up RJ when RJ missed one of those free throws down the stretch against Philly. I wasn't expecting to see that. He went over there like, "Come on, guys, it's okay." I was like, "Really? Good." I know the Duke brothers and all that stuff. I know all of that, but it was still good to see. So, and then of course, like the defensive energy from a team that isn't playing much defense, it stands out, right? Cam shooting comes and goes, but Cam is not having any plays called for him offensively. We're not seeing much there. Another thing that I'm noticing here is and again, I'm not trying to stand on this soapbox in regards to, I'm not trying to start anything. I promise, all that stuff. Cam is not getting past the ball much. So again, he needs to stop this. But Cam, if he doesn't get the ball after a while, he goes nut and he'll take the first shot he gets. That's stupid. Stop doing that. Please stop. But I do understand it, because he's like, if I pass the ball, I'm not going to get it back. But I would just create my own shot at that point. If you're like, I'm a shoot, then if you don't like the shot that was just given to you or wasn't a great shot, then ease up. I don't know. But that's my guy. I love Cam. I love what Cam's been doing. I'm happy to see that the Knicks are trying to utilize that 2-guard spot more. And, just have someone else out there other than RJ that can actually defend, because that's really what we've been seeing. That said, y'all, I'm going to end it here. The football is footballing all over the place. I have some gambling concerns. People are turning the balls over. People look hurt over here. And my Jets are playing. I need to know what's going on there. So thanks so much for joining me. Thank you, Queen, for joining the show. Next time I will do this with a little bit more organization for sure. But I wanted to go live for a little bit, talk Knicks, because I haven't been able to. And I missed my opportunity to on Thursday. But I will get some regularity, a schedule going like I'm supposed to going forward. But let's go Knicks. Let's go Jets. Let's have a great Sunday. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't. And I appreciate y'all.